Hey everyone and welcome to another episode of Zaw Power. Today we're going to be taking a look at a brand new Zaw that's really taken Synergy to the next, and frankly a rather crazy level, and that is my brand new dagger Wetwork. The Zaw I'm using for this specific build is the Balla for the strike. We have got Kwath for the handle of the dagger, and then Vargeet to Ruhang, which reduces speed and status chance to increase crit damage and crit chance. Now this is very specific for the use of the strategy that I'm going to be using it for. Once the dagger's built, we're looking 96 base damage, which frankly is pretty huge. Most of that's puncture and a big dose of slash, and then we got a tiny little bit of impact. This is a huge amount higher than nearly every single other dagger, almost double the closest one. Then we got a massive crit chance of 32%, which does make it work with a Blood Rush build, so if you want to use it as a traditional dagger. The status chance of just 10% isn't really that high, so Condition Overload isn't amazing on here. But you can make it work if you want to force it to. It naturally does have a very noticeable downside, and that is a speed of 0.867. Now that does sound like a significant problem, but since this is built, and this Zaw is built for a very specific purpose, it's not actually as bad as it would seem. Now, I've talked about this being for a specific purpose, and that is so true. And that specific purpose is to nuke absolutely everything in sight. So how are we going to do that? First part is Arcane Contagion, the arcane set from the most recent Operation Plague Star. You don't need this at max rank to be able to make this work, however it definitely does help the damage done. It's just an expensive set to build, it needs 100 Cetus Wisps to be able to complete the set. Once you've gilded your Zaw, you can add the arcane onto it, just like any other arcane. Now what Contagion does is that after a bullet jump or a double jump, if you do an air/melee, a wave of infestive energy will be sent out and will explode, doing AoE damage into, well, it hits anything in a certain area. Now the speed of that wave is affected by attack speed, so the dagger being slow actually helps in that regard and gives you more time to react, especially since the wave does do self-damage and will often kill you if you're not careful. In addition to that arcane, the build on the dagger is very important. Prime pressure point for damage, covert lethality is on there for the additional damage. The actual insta-kill thing isn't really relevant here. Tree Steel, Organ Shatter for crit chance and crit damage. We're not using Blood Rush because we're not using the combo counter. We've got Prime Fever Strike, Volcanic Edge and Virulent Scourge for gas damage, as well as a fairly decent chance to proc the gas proc. And then we've got Spoiled Strike. It's not a mod I often use, but that will not only increase the damage, but slow down the projectile to give us a bit more time to be able to not kill ourselves. And now the Warframe. We've got a specific frame for this, and that is Wukong. Now, I know you might be assuming that's going to be using Defy to protect against self-damage, but as you can see on screen now, it's actually for the Iron Jab Augment, Iron Vault, then going max range, absolute max. We've got a little bit of power strength, some efficiency on there, and then natural talent to be able to cast quicker. We're actually going to be using the Iron Vault Augment to boost the range of Arcane Contagion, and Cloudwalker to be able to mitigate not only the self-damage, but also to create the stealth damage ticks on the gas procs that we get, further increasing the damage output of this combo. So what's the effect of this? Well, absolutely crazy damage over a ridiculous area is what the effect is. You can see in the footage in the background now, it's clearing enemies super crazily quickly. In fact, the only thing that's actually holding it back in the footage is the enemies not spawning quickly enough. The range on this thing is easily enough to cover a small map like Hydron, but can be used in pretty much any map in the game. Check the footage from the simulacrum that's up right now, and you can see what the range is like on here. As you can see, it hitting right in the middle of the simulacrum. It hits literally everything in there. It is mind-blowing. Now, it does take some time to get used to the timing on this. Get it slightly wrong and you're going to blow yourself up without a doubt, especially with how crazy the range is. But the best way I've gotten used to it is simply just to get used to how far in front of you have to throw the projectile by basically learning from blowing yourself up every single time. Pretty much the only thing that you need to do is to use the Iron Vault Augment to launch yourself, and that's going to aim at the floor. That's going to launch you up into the air. You do a double jump when you're at the top of the launch from the Iron Jab. Then you do an air melee attack at a surface, far enough away that you're not going to kill yourself. But once you do that attack, immediately press 3 to go into your Cloudwalker. This is not only to stop yourself from dying immediately, but anything that doesn't die immediately from the initial damage are going to have some insane tick damage from any gas procs that you've managed to get into the enemies. This whole setup is absolutely insane. You can replace a Banshee on Hydron very, very easily. In fact, I think it's very slightly quicker. You can slaughter wave upon wave of enemies in anything that you want to do. This one setup will nuke every single mission in the game, up to and including sorties, and can be used on just about every single mission type. Even something like Exterminate, like you saw earlier. It's a bit more dangerous, especially depending on the tile set, but it can be used on anything. I've been messing around with this build a bit over the weekend after a clanmate put me onto it, and I've been trying to really get the timing of everything spot on. Now that I've got it perfected, I wanted to show all of you the power of a properly built Zaw, especially when combined with this Arcane, and then after all of that, combining it with Wukong. It's a very expensive and very involved setup to go into. However, once you do, then you will get some incredible performance out of it. Give it a go, see what you think. I know my mind was blown when I got into it, and let's hope that this doesn't get immediately changed. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and are going to enjoy slaughtering tons and tons of enemies with it. Going to have more videos coming in the future, so many thanks for watching, and I shall see you in the next video.